Right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for, what's that? Oh, yeah, that's right. Who's in the restroom? We'll give her a minute before we formally open.
Apology.
None necessary. Okay, we're on the record. All right. Well, welcome. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our May meeting. Thank you for your patience while we took care of a couple of questions that we need to ask our council. I will go ahead and make a motion to open our meeting.
Second. Member Powers? Aye. Member Shannon? Aye. Member Vandersloot? Aye. Member Loda? Aye. Chair Cook?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. So as always, first item on the agenda is any disclosure of any potential conflicts. I do not have any conflicts to disclose with respect to anything on the agenda for tonight.
I do not. I do not.
I have a conflict for Austin Park.
Okay.
I do not.
So then you'll just recuse for.
I'll sit here, but I won't vote.
Okay. All right.
And you also won't deliberate that.
Right. So our first item on the agenda is the application for the parking credit from with respect to the 5, also known as 1 South Main Street, that we considered last time, or we didn't consider this application, we considered a related application. But the applicant has also made an application for approval by the planning board of the parking credit. Section 210.25.2E states that any off-street municipally owned parking spaces may be used as a credit for up to 20% of the parking requirements, as long as those spaces are no more than 1,000 feet away and that the planning board approves the use of that credit. So that's the application that is before us for tonight. So I will go ahead and make a motion to open the public hearing on that application.
Member Powers?
Aye.
Member Vandersloot? Aye. Member Loda? Aye. Member Shannon?
Aye.
Chair Cook?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Now, I don't know that if you don't want to, you don't have to say anything in support of your application. It's like we know about the project and we are, I think, in pretty good shape. But if there's anything you'd like to say before we take it to public comment, happy to speak on that now.
Sure, yeah. So I'll introduce myself first. I'm Robert Marks from Woods Oak, Gilman. You probably remember. As you've indicated, I'm here on behalf of the applicant / owner of 1/5 South Main Street. I hear you saying that the board's obviously very familiar with the application. I am prepared to sort of walk through why we need it, but if you don't feel that that's necessary.
Go ahead. Yeah, happy to have you say whatever you would like.
And I'll be as brief as an attorney can be, I suppose.
Famous last words.
Yeah. So last month, as you know, you voted to approve, well, I should say this board, but sitting as the zoning board, voted to approve my client's parking variance application. There were 3 conditions associated with that. One of those conditions was this parking request to the planning board. There's also a requirement that we obtain a special use permit from the board of trustees. That's currently in progress. And then obviously recording of an easement is acceptable to the village attorney. As of Monday, I have received comments on that easement. I'm working with my real estate office to address those. I don't anticipate there's going to be an issue, but we're working through that as well. And Fortunately, I should say this, I should have said this to start, I'm here tonight, my clients couldn't be here. Mike has been here, I think, for every application so far, so he certainly apologizes that he couldn't be here today. And regrets that he couldn't. As you said, right, this is something that's permitted under the code, it's not a variance request, it's not, something that we change that is offered by the code. Under, one thing I wanted to clarify that wasn't necessarily made clear in our application, but I'm sure you've gathered it already, is that we contemplated as part of our zoning board application that of the 30 spots, 6 would be part of this 20% request. So really what we're talking about tonight is those 6 spots and then how they relate to the 3 municipally owned public parking within 1,000 feet. So if we can get 6 spots from, one of those 3 or all of those 3, then that's what we're talking about tonight. I won't beat a dead horse. You're well aware of the situation where we have no parking on site, and we are doing what we can to remedy that, and the village's inherent characteristic as a sort of walkable village and having parking for all of its commercial downtown reliance on that walkable municipally owned parking. I can speak from personal experience. That's how my wife, child, and I, when we come to the village, we these lots, and we will walk across the canal or where have you. So it's all of these places. So I would respectfully submit that we would ask this application to be granted. I'm certainly able to answer any questions that come up to the best of my ability, and happy to talk about any other issue you have. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't have any questions. Any other member of the board wish to ask any questions of the applicant?
No.
Okay.
Nice review.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Great. So the public hearing is open now. Is there anybody here in the room that would like to offer public comment on this application? Okay, hearing none. Do we have anybody online that would like to?
There's 3 participants online right now. No hands are raised if anyone would like to speak on this application.
Okay. Sounds like we don't have anybody. And Alexander, we did not get any written comment on this either, correct? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, we just,
Oh, we do have somebody?
oh no, the spotlight wasn't on there asking about video. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
That audio has been on with the transcript though.
Okay. All right. Now the
We do have one.
okay, good. All right.
Jared Less, you can unmute yourself if you're ready to speak.
Can you hear me? Hello,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, sorry, I just wanted to make sure it was working correctly. Those of you, I think I've met many of you before. My name is Jared Luskin. I'm one of the commissioners for the Pittsford Fire District, and we were provided notice of the public hearing tonight. And I don't know if procedurally it's at the right time, whether there's it's part of the planning board or the zoning board, whichever you're sitting, but we received notice of a variance request utilizing what we believe to be the public parking lot adjacent to the Pittsford Fire Station #1 that's owned by the fire district, et cetera. Is that correct, that part of the variance request is to use parking within that area?
Steve is, well, actually, yeah, why don't we have the applicant? Are you prepared to speak on that?
You come closer, you can.
Yeah.
Right here. I appreciate it.
So first and foremost, I want to clarify one thing. So this isn't a variance request. The variance request
Right.
was last month. This is a different request in front of the planning board. We did submit as part of our materials a map. It is in your application.
Yep.
Materials and available online. And it indicates the 3 municipal, or 3 parking areas that we are considering as part of that. I believe based on that, the closest one is the spaces near the fire district here, in what I guess I would describe as 11, but if I'm misreading the map, please correct me.
Okay, I don't, unfortunately don't have access to that map, but I will say that, and I know that I believe I spoke to one of the principals with the applicant who's trying to put the restaurant in the 5 South Main Street when he called the fire district, asking if he could lease space or have access or have some of those spaces assigned to the for his project. I just want, whether or not a variance is granted or any other permit, the fire district does not take a position on that. What we take a position on is that there is a lease agreement with the village of Pittsford and the town of Pittsford for that parcel. In that lease agreement, it expressly states that that the fire district has the right to terminate that lease agreement at any time with 6 months' notice. Like the other municipalities know, and as I said to the person that I spoke to from the restaurant, the fire district is knee deep in a facilities master planning process that involves significant renovations, at least to the fire station in the village. Everybody needs to understand that that process is ongoing, but we anticipate in relatively short order here, a decision is going to have to be made regarding what improvements need to, and including or an expansion to that fire station, and there's a very good possibility that that parking is not going to be available for the public. If an expansion or an addition is made to that firehouse, which again, we haven't made any decisions, we're meeting with architects, but as I said to the owner of the building, we've provided this because it's available now, but I just want everyone to know that any property that's owned by the fire district may very well be occupied by construction equipment or otherwise because of an ongoing project. And as long as the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeal is aware of that, we just don't want to be the reason a project fails or doesn't fail because those spaces may not be available. And that was the plan when we purchased the property from the bank, that we explained this to this very board when we came in for the subdivision, et cetera. So this is, again, we take no position. I hope the restaurant is successful. It's not whether or not they should get an approval. Everybody needs to be on the same page that this parking lot is not, is very, it's going to be used for as long as it possibly can, but there's a reason we bought it.
Yes. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in here?
Yeah.
If the applicant could take a look at the map and identify how many of the public parking spots that, you're asking the board to count are associated with the fire department parking lot.
It's my understanding, we're not asking for instance, 2 spots in the fire district park, or 3 in the, we're just generally 6 in any one of the 3.
Right, but the 6 is based upon the understanding that there are 30 spaces, public parking spaces within 1,000 feet of property. So I guess my question is, I just for clarification,
Yeah.
how many of the 30 spaces are in the fire department's parking lot? I think the board should.
No, there's irrelevant because there are 3 parking lots available that have 100 spaces.
I mean, my understanding is that the 20% is it's not 20%, and Steve, correct me if I'm misspeaking here, but my understanding is that the 20% credit, it's not 20% of the available municipal spaces, it's 20% of the requirement, right?
Correct,
Okay,
right, the 20% of the 30.
yeah, got it, okay.
So my other question is that I think the board needs to, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Should know when you're evaluating it, whether we're talking about 1 or Or
Yeah.
how many of the 30 are associated with the fire district parking?
I see.
Why is that?
Because it may influence your decision.
So, yeah, so Minnie, you're not telling us that we need to find that there's a specific number in order to get this. You're just saying that we should be aware generally of how many spaces are
Right,
being
and how many have been called into
considered.
question
Yeah,
by the fire district?
right. No, 'cause that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, to answer the question, I don't know how many spaces are in the fire district. I would submit to you that whether that, first off, I think it was speculation as to whether or not that is going to be available in the future or not, which is not something that necessarily proper for the board to consider, but regardless, I don't think we need 6 spots. I think we could get 6 spots from the other 2 parking lots, even if you said, okay, let's say there's 15 in the fire, we can't consider that because of the comments we just received. I think there's no, as someone who just parked over across, near the town hall or the library is, there was more than 6 there, and as we detailed more in our application, now would be the prime time for our restaurant for customers to visit. It wouldn't be during, middle of the afternoon, so to speak. So.
Yeah.
But I can't answer the actual direct question of
The
how many spots.
specific numbers, we don't know
I mean,
necessarily.
I could look at this map and count them, but that would be
Yeah.
probably inaccurate.
So the code says 20% of municipally owned or just municipal?
It says
Says on-street and municipally.
on-street and municipally owned parking spaces may be used as a credit for up to 20% of the requirements for off-street parking.
So if something is leased, is it owned? That's.
Well, so yeah, I'll clarify too. We're not looking to lease the parking,
No, but
right,
no,
right.
parking lot
There,
is.
as I understand it, there's currently an intermunicipal agreement that allows the spaces near the fire district to be available for public parking. What I'm hearing, the comment that's made is that may not be available and that may not be the
Yeah.
case in the future.
Right, but to Susan's point, Susan's asking whether municipally owned is the same thing as municipally leased, and the
Right.
short answer to that is no.
Yeah, I
Something
mean,
that is
the code does say,
municipal is not-
yeah,
Okay.
So that would also hold true for the
The rear one.
Yeah, right.
Reed
The
parking
Reed
lot.
one,
You can't
yeah.
count that one either.
So the one we can count is the library lot.
Right.
Mhm.
And
okay.
Okay.
Is that?
And
that's
any,
fair,
and any
right?
on-street
Okay,
parking
that-
as well.
Well, yeah, but this is
This is about.
off street.
Right.
Well, no, this is, it includes permit, code permits on street and municipally owned parking spaces to be used as credit for up to 20% of the requirements. So
Right, yeah.
It would,
No, on-street.
so I don't need just 6 space, or my client doesn't need 6 spaces in the parking lot. It could also be just 6 spaces on the road.
Right,
Correct,
Okay.
right.
Yes.
well, 30 spaces, 20% of which would be 6.
Yes,
Okay, all right, so it's the on-street and the library lot that
Right.
we are assuming is meeting this requirement.
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you for your clarification, and thank you, Jared, for, just making us, just putting that out there so that we're all on the same page. And thank you to the applicant and to Steve for helping, clarify those questions.
Thank you very much again. The fire district wants everybody to succeed in their business. We're not trying. We just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page so there was not any misunderstanding about the availability of that parking. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Jared.
Bye.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other public comments? Anybody else like to offer public comment?
No other hands raised right
Okay.
now.
All right. Any other members of the board have any questions that you want to ask the applicant before we deliberate on this? Okay. In that case, I will go ahead and make a motion to close the public hearing on this application.
Second.
Member Shannon,
I,
member Powers,
Aye.
member Vanderswag,
Aye.
member Rhoda,
Aye.
Chair Cook,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay. Now, the code doesn't give us explicit criteria to consider in deciding whether to grant this request. We in consultation with council, I think our determination is that the same factors that we considered in granting the parking request or the variance request at our last meeting would be the factors that we would consider on this application as well. Any member of the board disagree or want to speak on that issue? Okay.
No.
I mean, based on that, I would say that for the substantially the same reasons that we discussed last time and for which we voted to grant the variance request at our last meeting, I would propose that we do the same here and approve this request as well. Before I make a formal motion to that effect, would anybody like to speak on that or deliberate or express any opposition?
I agree.
I'd just like to clarify that the determination would be made not just based on your prior determination, but on the record that was
Right,
recorded
yeah,
at the time that you made the determination.
right, for the substantially the same reasons, but not the decision itself.
Right.
Right, this is a new decision, but
Right.
we're reaching our decision for the same reasons.
And based on the same record.
Right, the same facts, which I think I can say we would incorporate by reference.
Right.
So, yeah. No, thank you for that. I mean, I will go ahead and make a motion then to approve this application for the same record that was based on the same record, the same facts that were before us at the previous policy application in front of us. My view is that even without the fire lot and the breathe lot, that there are enough spaces that we can grant the credit for the 6 spaces that the applicant is seeking. And so I would make a motion to grant the application for those reasons.
Second.
Member Vanderslife,
Aye.
member Powers,
I,
member Shannon,
No.
member Loda,
Aye.
Chair Cook,
Hi,
motion passes.
okay. All right, thank you.
Down your hair.
Okay, drive safe. All right, the next item on the agenda,
Administrative.
please, yeah.
Information. The record of this approval is always gonna be remained on the minutes, correct? There's no resolution for that we would normally
An
do.
additional resolution.
There'll be a resolution.
I think we should do a resolution. We can talk about what form that should take. I think it can be pretty brief.
Do you wanna write it or the council write it? I think right now we're
Yeah,
having something on the record that is referenced like we do our other information.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll do.
that's
thank
fine.
you.
Well,
Thanks, Alexandra. All right. So the next item on the agenda tonight is application for 5 Austin Park. This is for a lot coverage variance. So we'll have the applicant come up. Yeah, you feel free to pull up more chairs if you'd like. No problem there. Okay. Hi, how are you? Good. Tell us a little bit about your application. I understand that this is not a new project, it's already been done. So tell us a little bit about
So we had a concrete patio plan. And
Name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we need name and address because it's the applicant? Okay.
okay,
Sorry.
Gary Timlin, 5 Austin Park.
Jen Morrow, 5.
Okay, thanks.
So we did an addition on our home a couple of years ago. And we always had a vision to put a patio on the back.
Yeah.
For the jacuzzi. And we didn't do the patio and the jacuzzi right away. But last year we started that project and I didn't realize that I needed to request a variance. For the space and the coverage of the patio. The reason why I didn't realize I needed that is because I actually did look online and I pulled up the township document. And I read the township document, not the village document. Township document, in my opinion, stated that for a patio, we didn't need to get approval unless we put a retainer wall. And so, we'll move forward with the project.
Okay.
When was that? When did you put the patio in?
Last August.
And since we've learned of all this and we've stopped everything, the patio's in because it was put in 2 days.
Yeah.
The only thing that we did is we started to do some landscaping along the outer perimeter of the property along the fence.
Right.
Because that was our vision to kind of beautify and use our backyard in that purpose.
I just have a question now. So on this portion,
Yeah,
this is, definitely has something in mind.
Jacuzzi.
That's the jacuzzi.
yeah.
And so is that, with the jacuzzi increase the coverage or is it?
No, sitting on the coverage as far as I understand. Right, Joe?
Oh,
It's just a structure going on top of it. Yeah.
Right,
That makes sense.
right. And I guess we have learned that when we did the variance for the house addition, the calculation that was in the documentation versus what is the case is that the approval went for 35%. The approval went for 35%.
And we only did 20.
We only built the house to 29. And this calculation with the patio is now 36.6%. So it's like 1.6% over what's been approved based on the previous house project.
Can you do that? Kind of use, unused approval for a new project?
Very explosive to land.
Yeah, I can say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they've got a, yeah.
There's a shed on the property also that's we're taking down, so I don't think it's that 1.6, but it's just worth mentioning
Okay.
that that's coming out.
It moves the needle.
Yeah, a fraction of a percent.
Yeah.
Question
So-
about your plans. You mentioned you wanted to do some landscaping and moving the shed. Do you have like a design or anything that shows what your intentions are for, particularly for, drainage and stormwater? Because that's really the big impact of something like this is the impervious area and how it may or may not affect the area, including the neighbors when it comes to, drainage and during rainfall.
We don't have a design or a drawing. We're just gonna dig our own gardens.
Put in.
I can. In one of the hardest rains that we had last fall, in October, after the patio was in, I walked around and took, in the pouring rain, took a video of the water impact. There was no impact of this water in any way, shape, or form puddling up or running to our neighbors.
So you didn't have any French drains or anything put in when you did it? It was just.
Nothing,
Yeah.
yeah, and since the winter and all the snow and rain since, no issue.
We provided 2 letters of our direct next door neighbor and then our backyard neighbor.
Mhm.
So they cover. There's 3 sides, right? Because one is our house.
Right, yeah.
They cover 2 full sides of what could potentially be an impact. There is no impact. And They have no concerns about this.
Those can be referenced in the public hearing as if they're. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Steve, do you have any concerns about drainage?
No, yeah, I mean, if there was an issue, especially with the rains we've had,
Right.
I gotta believe I would have received a phone call from a neighbor saying that something they've done affected their property.
Great. Let's see. So just to be clear, tonight we're talking about increasing from an existing variance that goes up to 35, and we're talking about going up only 1% from that.
Correct.
Okay,
With the removal of a shed, I don't know the percentage of that, I'm sorry.
that's okay. Do we have any idea how big the shed is?
8 by 8 or 8 by 10.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So is the 36.6 include the shed removal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No,
No.
there's the shed right now.
So the shed removal
Will
is.
decrease.
Will decrease.
Okay, we'll decrease it even below the 36.6.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Understood.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry, we asked you questions, we interrupted.
No.
Is there anything else that you want to say about your project, about your application? Want to make sure we give you a chance to say everything you want to.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything more about. About the project and how it happened and where we stand right now, what we're asking for.
Okay. Great. With that, I'm going to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Member Shannon,
Abstain.
member Powers,
Aye.
member Vandersland. Member Loda. Chair Cook,
Aye.
motion passes.
All right. Now the public hearing is open. Is there anybody here in the room tonight that would like to speak on this application? All right, hearing none. Alexandra, do we have anybody online?
We have 2 participants online, no hands raised quite yet
All right.
to speak.
Should we give people a moment, see if anybody wants to? All right. While we wait for that, I will just note for the record that we did receive some written comments, 2 written comments, letters of support, supporting from neighbors, from it looks like 7 Austin Park and 5 Austin Park.
70
70 South. Oh, I'm sorry, the applicant. Yeah, so these are just to be clear, these are the 2 neighbors on both sides, right?
That's
Okay, the immediately adjacent. neighbors.
I do have one question, so
Name and address.
sorry, that's in Terra, 32 Main Street. Just, you have that shed that's coming down, I don't know if this changes anything, but is it on a path and?
No, it's not concrete blocks that are sticking out as well.
Okay, that's my curiosity.
Steve, that doesn't matter for purposes of coverage, right? The roof is what, it counts as impervious regardless of whether it's a pattern.
I mean, it's only people square feet,
Yeah.
and take out 2%, 1 or 2%. If I remember correct, the lot was over 10,000. You know what I mean, so take away 64 square feet, I can do a lot, but it will diminish it slightly. And the shed is not historic because,
No.
it was installed by the owner
2006.
20 years ago.
All right, great. Anybody online?
No.
Okay. In that case, I am going to go ahead and make a motion to close the public hearing.
Member Loda. Member Vandersland. Member Powers,
Aye.
member Shannon,
Abstain.
Chair Cook,
Aye.
motion passed.
Okay, so again, this is an area variance, so just for the benefit of the record and anybody that may be watching, our criteria that we consider are in New York State Village Law, section 7-712B, subsection 2B. And those criteria are that we need to weigh the benefit to the applicant if the variance is granted against any detriment that would result to the health or welfare of the neighborhood. And in making that determination, we have 5 factors that we're supposed to consider. Those factors are whether it would result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or any detriment to nearby properties, whether there are any other feasible methods of achieving the same benefit that the applicant is seeking. 3, whether the variance is substantial. 4, whether it will result in any adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And then finally, we consider whether the difficulty is self-created. And then we are supposed to grant, or we are required to grant only the minimum variance, which is necessary to accomplish the benefit sought. So with that in mind, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. I thought you were signaling me that you. Sorry. So with that in mind, we can just kind of go through the factors here. I started with the first one. Based on what we've seen tonight, I don't believe that this will result in any undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. Does anybody disagree or would like to speak on that?
No, patios are pretty typical throughout
Yeah.
the village.
Yeah, and I think it states that it's not even really visible on the street.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
As far as other feasible methods, it seems to me that it would be highly inconvenient, if not infeasible, to require them to rip out a portion of what's already been installed. It doesn't seem to me that there's a feasible way to achieve the benefits sought by this, by other methods. As far as whether the variance is substantial, I guess what I would say in that is that the existing code requirement is no more than 25%. So we're going from 25 to 35, which is substantial. But on the other hand, we have an existing variance already that takes them up to 35. So I would say it is substantial to go from 25 to 35, but I would say it's not substantial to go from 35 to 36 and change. That's my view of it.
No,
Anybody?
I agree.
Okay.
Mhm.
Substantially the same reasons we talked about, there not being any undesirable change or detriment to nearby properties. I think that there does not appear to be any adverse impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood.
And that's more or less confirmed by neighbors, so. I would
Yeah.
take those comments into consideration.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Mindy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we are not supposed to consider the fact of that people have objected to or supported the application, but if they do, we consider the substance of what they've said.
Correct.
Yes. But yeah, so we wouldn't say, well, nobody's objecting, so therefore we're to grant it. We have to actually look at the factors, but I think it's true what Susan said, that they both have supported it, which indicates that there does not appear to be, at least in the view of the neighbors, any adverse impact. Finally, whether there is any whether the difficulty is self-created. I think we could say it maybe is, at least to a certain degree. There's, in my mind, a question about whether a good faith mistake is self-created, but I think even if it is, that that by itself is a factor we consider, but it doesn't require us to deny relief. So.
Well, I think the install of the patio itself is self-created anyway.
Right, yeah.
So it would be coming to us prior or post, either way, it would be.
Yeah.
It would be
They
self-created,
could have made,
but that doesn't necessarily.
Right.
could have
impede
been
us.
smaller to meet the 35%, but yeah.
Correct.
If
Correct.
they had,
Right.
they
Right.
could have
Correct.
made it to 35% or 6,
Yeah.
for example.
And in my view of this, while I do want to be practical about it, I think that the right approach is that we don't consider the timing. I think we need to consider the application as the same as whether, apply the same criteria and the same analysis, whether the construction is already done or whether it had not been done yet, and not consider the fact that it's already been done as a factor weighing in favor of it. But in my view, I would vote to grant it regardless, either way.
Yeah, I guess in my view, actually, it actually helps that they didn't ask before, because they've sort of proven that there's not
Well,
a problem
that's
with, because I think the water runoff is really the main driving factor because of the imperviousness. But if we've had a lot of rain, and if it has not proven to be a problem, either, for the neighboring, then like, we actually necessarily, they can tell us that, but this is actually proven that it does not, because we've had a lot of rain. We're actually in the wet season now.
Right, yeah. Steve, you had
I
a,
just want to point out a back to reality in this village. I have done studies of the neighborhood. There is not one neighborhood on average that is under 32%.
yeah,
Because they're close to same lots with percent requirement, it's very hard for.
Right, given
properties of this size.
given the lots
Very
and
true.
the home sizes. Okay.
it seems like that's something that the trustees probably should take up at some point and have a code that reflects the reality of the village, but that's not before us tonight, so we don't need to make any decision on that. Okay, anybody have anything else that you want to add? Any other additional findings you think we should make, or any other characteristics of the property that we should note? And then finally, last question is, we're supposed to grant, or we are required to grant no more than the minimum variance necessary. In my view, this application seeks the minimum necessary to accomplish this benefit. Anybody disagree with me or would like to speak on that issue? Okay. So with that, I would go ahead and make a motion to grant this application.
Second.
Member Powers,
I,
member Vandersloot,
Aye.
member Shannon,
State.
member Loda,
I,
Chair Cook,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay. Congratulations. Good luck with the rest of the finishing up the landscaping and everything.
That was just pretty, thank you.
All right. Okay,
That's Chris. Hi.
yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all
Yeah.
very much.
Good luck. Thanks.
I would like to just get another comment on the doors.
Yes.
That's kind of in response
All
to
right.
your comment. I think.
Member Loda, can you hold the records? You can't hear you right now, but oh,
Yeah.
we are still continuing the meeting, okay? Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
No, I do, want to respond, not better that they went ahead and built it, but I think we need to be careful of encouraging people to
I agree.
do something
I agree.
and then ask for
Yeah, that's not
forgiveness.
good.
So let's just be, I know you
Correct.
probably didn't mean it that way.
No, I didn't mean
Yes.
it that way. I'm
But-
sorry.
But
Yes.
I think it could have been construed like that. So I just kind of want us to kind of maintain some.
Yes.
limits in that regard, but I know the building inspector will.
Yes, yes.
Do that.
I just, for the record, that was kind of the impetus behind my statement earlier, that my view was that we should consider it, apply the same analysis regardless of the timing, right? Because we don't want to suggests that you're going to have an easier time getting your application granted if you go ahead and do it without getting a variance. We don't, that's probably not something we want to encourage. But regardless, like I said, my vote would be to approve it. My vote was to approve it and is to approve it regardless of the timing. So, Steve,
I
yeah.
just want to make a comment, in defense of them, in a way, it wasn't their fault, because I stopped the Mason. You know what I mean? I was there when I saw the Mason truck there, so I stopped, and they hadn't poured anything yet, and the concrete truck's coming down the road. And I said, you can pour the stairs only for safety, but you cannot do the rest until you get approval.
Yeah.
I went on vacation, came back, and it was all done. That's not on them, the Mason.
It
went
was the
ahead.
contractor. Yeah.
And I don't have recourse to go
No
and find the
penalty for
Mason,
that.
Right.
you know what I mean? If there was no permit involved in doing a patio,
I see.
unless there's walls associated with it. I will say this, that one thing about that and what we should push for, if somebody else comes in for patios, permeable pavers.
Right,
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
that there is a
They
better
don't
way
have
that can be done,
reputation
I
and
do
now
agree with that.
that he is proposing permeable pavers, so that really takes,
Better.
everything off the board.
Right.
Absolutely.
Environmentally better.
I wanted to make a comment, but after that, but I, like,
Mhm.
this has already been forward, like, but yes. I mean, from this point forward, like, really, we should, that's a better way to go.
So how is it not up to the owner to stop pouring? Why
He
just
wasn't
say,
there, the owners weren't there, so I could not talk to them at the time, but I clearly instructed the mason. Stairs only, leave the rest, and we need to get approval.
Yeah.
So of course, it was on a Friday, and I left on vacation for a week,
Yeah.
so.
wow,
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, everybody, for those clarifications. Now, we do have an item on the agenda that's been tabled. I think we can leave that. And then we've got some approval for minutes that we needed to do. I read through these and I didn't see anything that I felt any changes that needed to be made. I don't know if anybody else saw anything that you want to.
There was one, there's one clarifying statement that I'll put before public comment. For any open, continued public hearing.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Where the board accepted additional public comment on the open public hearing, so that
Okay.
occurred for the March 4th meeting.
Yeah.
For both 50 and 5.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a good
So that'll
clarification
be,
to add.
yeah, that'll be consistent moving forward.
Okay.
I think it's just easier to read that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
It's a little, jarring to suddenly see
I
somebody's
consulted-
commenting.
I
Fair.
consulted
Yes.
with our other clerks and officer doing minutes. I'm like, do you introduce at the public hearing still open? And they do, so
Okay.
keep it,
All
keep
right.
it up.
Yeah, are we talking about the February 4th minutes also? Because I had a couple of.
Yeah, the
comments.
4th, 19th and the
Yeah.
March 4th.
So on February 4th, and this is just a suggestion, it's up to the board. The first paragraph after the action, the second sentence says, the board reviewed updated parking calculations associated with, I would just say seating capacity. I wouldn't necessarily, I would drop and increase personally. And then the second sentence, the board in consultation with council relied on the determination made by the code enforcement officer instead of clarified.
Yeah, I agree with that change.
That was good, because that section was not in there when we looked at them last month, because we wanted to look at it again, so that reads beautifully, thank you.
Great, thank you.
yeah, relied on for determination.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. Any other members of the board have any additional changes to make on any of these minutes? Or to suggest?
I know.
Okay.
No.
With that, I'm gonna go ahead and move to approve these minutes as amended per our discussion on the record.
Second.
Can I just clarify that everyone was at all the meetings, right? I think,
Mhm.
Jared, you may have been absent for the February 4th.
Yeah, you were.
I was for the
So maybe-
February, that's true.
I don't know
So,
if we want to.
Let's split it up, yeah, let's split it up.
Thank you.
So I guess we'll just do them one at a time, that's probably the cleanest way to do it. So let's see. Let me separate them. So I can still make the motion, right? I just can't vote on it.
Someone else should make the motion
Okay.
for the 4th.
That's fine. Somebody else wanna?
To approve the minutes from February 4th as amended.
Second.
Member Shannon,
Aye.
member Powers,
Aye.
member Vanderstel,
Aye.
member Rhoda,
I,
Chair Cook,
Aye.
abstain.
I'm sorry, abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
absent,
Yes,
isn't that different?
Yeah, he's not voting.
right, yeah, I abstain. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the February 19th and March 4th minutes.
Second.
I think, wait, but we go back to February 19th?
It's okay, everyone was here. I can, if you want to combine those. The first one was just a little tricky.
Yeah,
Did you have comments on February 19th?
Yeah, February 19th, the Kathleen Karen,
yeah,
okay, it says she clarified that a previous business Sharon Villiers did not receive any parking spaces or variance. I don't understand, I think it says no parking space variance, right? Or for variance,
oh, I see what you mean, yeah, parking spaces for variance, yeah.
For variant, for,
Did
I
not
think it's
receive
good.
any variance, I think,
or parking space,
variance.
any parking variance, I think. it
yes,
is.
yeah, any parking variance.
She may actually have said that.
She may have said what
I'm
we
not,
wrote,
I
yeah.
thought.
That's true, yeah.
Had written comments too.
Kathleen Karen
She
was here.
was
She was
here.
here.
Yeah, she was here.
They did not submit in writing then.
I guess now that we're looking at it, I would also suggest that instead of clarified, maybe we just say that she stated.
Yes.
Because clarified might suggest that
Right.
we made a finding on that, and I don't think we did.
And she made comments.
Actually, I think she stated that the previous business did not have any parking variances, parking spaces, or receive any variance.
Yes,
That's what.
I think that's
is
right.
what she said, that's
So it
what she
didn't
said.
have any.
Did not have any spaces
Or
and
receive any variance.
did not receive a variance.
Yeah. Sorry, it was just reading, so.
Yeah.
No, that's a good.
She was specifically referring to the credit about having
Right.
parking spaces. I
Correct.
don't know if the board wants to make that clear or if it's fine like this.
I think it's fine.
I think if she used the word variance, we should let it
Okay.
stand as it is.
So maybe we should do these separately, right?
That's, yeah, why don't we? Why don't we? Anybody have any other clarifications or changes on the February 19th? All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the February 19th minutes.
As
With,
amended.
as amended per our discussion on the record.
Second.
Member Powers,
Aye.
member Vanderstel,
Aye.
member Rhoda,
I,
member Shannon,
Aye.
Chair Cook.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, and then March 4th, anybody have any comments, changes, clarifications? I do not on this one. Okay.
No, I think.
All right, I go ahead and move to approve the the March 4th minutes.
Those are amended with that statement from earlier, introducing
Yes.
the public. Hearing.
Yes, thank you, as amended for our discussion.
Member Rhoda, member Vanderswag,
Aye.
member Powers,
Aye.
member Shannon.
Aye.
Chair Cook,
Aye.
motion passes. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to raise, I don't think we need to take any action on tonight, but I would like to, maybe in a future meeting, think about whether we, vote to, I'd like us to revisit whether we want to vote to allow for remote participation in cases of emergencies. I think most of the other boards, except for the trees, do allow this. It might be a good idea if somebody's got a sick family member or something that they're caring for, they can still participate. I'm not gonna call for a vote, I'm not gonna make a motion or anything on that, but I just wanted to put that out there. I think it's maybe something we should revisit at some point. Just so folks can think about that and, if we want to address it in a future meeting, we can, but I just wanted to put it out there. But I do think it's something that I want to think about.
Just so you know that if you do that, we need to notice where,
Right.
what the remote location is and let the public have an opportunity to
Right.
observe at the
Right.
remote location.
Right.
So
Remote location, so if somebody,
it's at home.
yeah, so we need to give people an opportunity to come to the home
Yeah.
of the person. Oh, interesting, okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't aware
Why
that
they
that was.
usually, like, if you were a snowbird, you would do it in a library or something.
Right,
Public,
or a public, a public
that,
place.
that's, I think,
Right.
the intent of that was
Right.
to
Yeah.
do it, like, if I went to Florida for 3 months or 8 weeks, I could log in from the public library.
Yeah. Okay,
But that's
good to know.
what they,
And that person could be a full participant and vote.
Yes, if they meet all the
If you-
criteria, it has to be properly noticed and has to be
Yeah.
open to the
Yeah,
public,
but-
they have to satisfy the
Right.
the criteria
Right.
for remote participation.
that's like,
So
Yeah.
properly notice requires what?
I'll be honest with you, so the HPV is actually the only board within the village
I
that
see.
has a resolution for this. And that off-site location is not noticed, but they don't do public hearings. So I think that there's, that's.
so it's
this board,
different.
it would, yeah, that's what makes it a little bit.
Right. I also.
I'm not sure that matters for purposes of the open meetings law.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, their requirement is two, or they have to have 3 of a quorum in here in order for that one person, but we do not notice the location offsite unless they're meeting in a quorum offsite.
Something
So
to think
you would
about.
need to notice it.
Well, I think that we should talk about that with the clerk, the village clerk and our council. But if that even discussion continues, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
So if you're sick, it's not gonna work.
Right.
it has to be noticed, right,
Right.
yeah.
Well.
So it couldn't work for.
Provide the notice that you can. But if you're sick, you probably shouldn't be participating in the meeting anyway.
I think the criteria too is really extenuating circumstances. It's definitely
yeah.
not, I'm gonna be in Europe for 3 months.
Right, yeah, that was my
Yeah.
understanding. It's like if you're caring for a sick family member or something.
Yeah.
and you
Right,
can't
okay,
leave them
so
alone.
that we give a notice ahead of time, but otherwise, if you're
Well,
dead,
maybe.
I
Well,
don't
but
think
I
we can
think
really,
You
right?
give what notice you can, right? So if it comes up on an emergency basis, you post it on the village website.
Right.
You know, you report it when the meeting starts and.
So, okay, so when we say that we have to give notice, we don't have to send out notice 20
That's
days
what I'm-
ahead of time like we would do for an
If you
application.
can, you do.
Gotcha.
If you can't, you give what notice
I
is
think
possible.
one of the common reasons they implement that is if you have not a lot of participants or trouble getting people to participate on the boards and like, well, hey, I'm retired, I'm going, you know, like I said, going to Florida for the winter, it doesn't preclude that person from being a member.
Correct.
I think that's one of the common reasons they apply this. It's not necessarily for the sick, because usually we can cover it by the other members or the alternate.
Right, right.
You know, the odd, like you say, occurrence.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is that it would be something that we probably would not use often, but I would just think it might be something that would be good to have if it did become necessary for some reason. But, you know, if the board is not in agreement with that, then that's fine. And again, I'm not like making a motion,
I
I
mean,
just wanted to raise that.
it's, you know, if you have trouble getting a quorum, it could be helpful, but.
Yeah, I mean, there may be a night when,
But
you know,
right now,
maybe-
we don't seem to have a problem with it.
Right, yeah, exactly, but, you know, if for some reasons we had two members that were disqualified for conflicts and somebody else that.
Then was out of town or whatever.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
exactly.
could be, but.
I'd hate to have to not get things done, just
Right.
for lack of a quorum. So,
Right.
We do have an alternate too.
We do have alternates, yeah.
Two, don't we?
I'm thinking in the 15 years I've represented this board, I don't think that we've ever.
Right.
Not had a quorum.
Not had a quorum.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, see, we're fortunate that we have enough participants. I think there's communities that struggle. And
Yeah,
that is why they permit it. At least that's what I gained from my webinar that I listened to.
I was thinking you were very informed about this.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Wow, she
Yeah.
reading up.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, how does she know this?
And I listened to the webinar on
Yeah.
the, you know, introduction to zoning, you know, blah, blah, blah.
good.
But that's what they said, and I guess that made sense.
Yeah.
And they did say that you would, in that case, of the people that were, you know, temporarily out of town, they would go to the library or public space was kind of how they framed that in that particular.
Like
webinar.
you're not in your home.
That was
So you
the more.
want to make your home.
You could, but there was, the intent is they described it in the webinar was to go to, say, for example, the library, say I was, you know, in, I don't know, wherever, Florida, someplace, you go to the Fort Lauderdale Public Library and, you know, log in or whatever. And that would be one of those types of examples, but that they did say it was not something they encouraged. It was more
Right.
for the when you have trouble, because I mean, we're all volunteers, we're giving up our time. There's a lot of communities that they can't get volunteers, and that becomes where the problem is. And we seem to be getting people to show up, so that's good. But if that changes, then you might
Yeah,
want to consider it. Yeah, I understand that.
okay.
Was there a reason you were thinking about it, Jared? Just asking?
No.
Like, I don't know, I was just asking.
No particular
Okay,
reason.
that's all, I was
No.
wondering if you thought.
I was just, yeah, I was just, you know,
Supposing.
going through my agenda, preparing
okay.
for tonight, and I remember that that's something we had discussed.
Well, it's a reasonable thing to do.
Okay.
to-
So I thought
That's what I was just
maybe
wondering.
we should address it again, but
I didn't know if he was going away for
no, I
long.
have no plans to use it.
Right. Like, I don't know, that's why.
Yeah. No, it's a good.
Okay.
The June 3rd meeting on our calendar is an actual training. Today was
Yes.
at 5:30 was one we scheduled from April, so 5:30 PM sharp, and I think that will be the Article 78.
Excellent.
The one today about parking and then that one were not on the list that I shared with you guys before because I wanted it to be new for you.
Yeah, that's great.
So
It was a good one. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
And I think you worked out great today too, so.
And yes, if we can get the references, that might be nice to make a library or something.
Right.
Okay.
Those sounded interesting to kind of read on, so.
Okay.
And the one Susan mentioned as well.
Yeah, Paved Paradise, it's good.
Oh, the book, yeah.
Yeah.
Like make a library.
We do, so I need to check to see
You
what
might have.
these boards have available, because there's a lot of historical preservation books there, but I don't know what you guys have,
Okay,
so, but
yeah.
I'll do a little
Well,
audit.
they
yes.
referenced them as the Bible for parking, and I think we might as well be
Okay.
informed.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Well, he used it the whole time.
yeah, I think. Well, yeah,
All right, 5:30 sharp. next-
5:30.
next-
June 3rd, 5:30. Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Good. Anybody have any other member items that you want to bring up before we close tonight?
Is John Lundbeck now around? We don't know. This is,
we're not, well,
I miss his updates.
Yeah.
You can email him.
well, he was coming regularly and then he.
Yeah,
not, so-
Oh, maybe.
And is there?
You guys know where he lives.
Yeah.
A pre-application meeting for the next.
Yeah, so it looks like, thank you, Member Powers for reminding, so it looks like we'll have one application for the pre-meeting on May 11th.
Okay,
I'll send those materials over to the full board on Friday.
perfect.
You'll have some time, and then, the applicant does want to proceed with the people, so
Good.
Who's on the?
I know I
docket?
am.
I think it's Cook and Shannon.
Okay.
I think.
I don't have it on my
I remember-
calendar, so it must not
I
have
don't-
me,
I haven't-
so.
We haven't done one yet, so.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So June 3rd. It looks.
For May 11th is
For
the
May
pre-meeting.
11th, right, it's, Vendors by.
And Cook.
okay, all right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
But it doesn't have to be the 11th.
No, you guys can set your own time.
You
Yeah.
just, since the applicant wants to participate, it's really important that you keep me looped in so that.
Right,
Schedule
so
it
when
with
does
the
it have to be
applicant.
before?
It should be the 11th or before, yeah, I think that,
I'm fine to keep it on the 11th.
I wouldn't steer too far from the 11th.
Yeah,
If possible, just for timing for the.
Yeah.
John kind of keeps track of it too, so.
yeah.
Right, because John was, yeah.
Yeah.
He was
And what
involved.
time?
That's up to
Okay.
you two busy folks. So that I can tell the applicant,
Um,
you can decide text offline, it's fine, just let me know what you decide, please,
Okay.
yeah. But it's,
I mean, I'm happy to do it just at 6:30, keep the same.
Okay.
But you know, if there's another time that would work better, I'm happy to be flexible too.
I think.
I will not be involved, trustee Lembeck does want to participate, and even Steve is available, but,
Okay, good.
so it's. Yeah, it's a wraparound
Okay, so we'll get the packet from you on
on
Friday.
Friday, this is not a packet, it's just.
I'm sorry,
Application.
the
material.
application,
Yeah.
yes, the application materials, which we'll review for Monday, and then we can meet with the applicant on
Will
Monday.
we all get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll all get it, but they'll do the meeting.
Yeah,
This is a really good process.
I think so, yeah.
it's the first one, I'm really excited, because that
Yeah.
applicant wants to. be there.
Right. when
Yeah.
you-
Right, no, that's
like,
really
yeah.
And even when they turned in their materials, we're like, it's okay, just have a pre-meeting, you're gonna talk with a couple
That's
board
great.
leaders, board members.
So we can do it here, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, you just need to come get the key.
That's why I was if he locked up.
Yeah.
Well, if John's here, just.
Can we require, so that, Steve provide us with the, appropriate code?
I think that a requirement is a directive, and I don't know that this board does that for Steve, so you can send
We
him a
can
request
request
to
it.
Steve, yes, yeah, through
Okay.
email.
Okay.
I don't see why not. Or communicate with the liaison on what you would want the process to be,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, I'm beginning, no, I think it would be a good idea for all.
You're right,
Yeah.
we need to kind of know.
Yes.
So
That we're.
yeah, so Kathleen and I will
Reviewing.
be the ones to run the meeting with the applicant, but everybody. Please take a look at the application and email any
Right, if they had any. if you have any
feedback, concerns.
Right.
Yeah, open-ended items that you think.
And just a reminder, I think this is probably well understood, but the pre-meeting, we're obviously not prejudging anything, we're not.
We're
Getting
just looking at
information.
the content of the application, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I think we're just,
This of the.
is there
Complete,
anything that we
yeah.
need to request additional information or clarification on, in order to be able to
Right.
Make a
Uh,
determination,
consider.
Right, make sure you have all the
like
information.
pictures or site
Right.
plan or whatever else, okay.
Right.
The code section that they're seeking relief from is or should be in the application itself.
Yeah.
Good.
So.
Okay.
Okay,
Right,
all right.
right. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Are we adjourning?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second. I think member Vanderzal was like,
Yep.
okay. Member Shannon?
Aye.
Member Powers?
Aye.
Member Vanderzal?
Aye.
Member Loda? Chair Cook?
Hi.
Motion passes.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.